Welcome everybody. Welcome to Tarot Journeys with Guy. Nice to see everybody. How's everybody doing out there? Today, we are going to talk about money. Talking about money is kind of a tricky subject, especially as of late, let's say. But for me, I always kind of touch softly on the topic of money. Now, and there's a lot of reasons. Now, in previous readings, if people have been following along, that's been coming up quite a bit. And I mean, that usually is people's primary concern, okay? Yeah, we're going to approach the money topic and we're going to look at, what we need to know, a little bit of a projection, what can we expect, what we can see happening. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, I guess is the expression, in the sense of, many of us, we've been doing this for a while, and this notion and this fear-based idea around money systems has always been prevalent, okay? And what we are actually seeing is an implementation of an agenda and a plan, and it does revolve around money, i.e. the Great Reset, the greenification of everything, the deindustrialization of the developed parts of the world, these kind of things, and the shifting over to digital currency and all of this, right? So yeah, it's been a long-standing thing. I mean, for as long as I've been around, I guess, especially like in spiritual work and being around spiritual communities and alternative communities, talking about money, and people have always pushed this idea that the money system is going to fall apart, that there's going to be a reset, that there's a new money system sort of in the waiting. Some people believe it's good, some people believe it's bad. Like the deep state, bad actors have one. The other side of it, the patriot side, let's call it, have theirs as well. And there's a lot of different beliefs out there, and there's not a lot of verification. Now, what we've seen, when we talk about money now, we also have to talk about the internet. It's intrinsically tied, right? And also it's kind of one of the traps laid out for us, I feel. Now, primarily, I always take the money as first a part of the illusion of this world, okay? The other way that I always take money is that it's merely an expression of energy. And in fact, it's a minuscule representation of the exchange of energy on the material plane. Okay. And yeah, and so everything has been tied to our money systems, right? So, and there's been a lot of BS projected onto us. I mean, people have believed a lot of different things. It just, and a lot of sort of like how the climate agenda, they talk about the doomsaying around the climate, that hasn't happened. It's the same thing with the economy. It's the same thing. I mean, yes, the economy could crash, of course, except, it's more about what has been projected on us via these deep state bad actors, and via the media, via education, via the businesses that we surround ourselves, corporatization, okay, and various other means. But the internet has really made this possible, this projection and projecting onto people. We are the screen. We are not only as the audience and the producers of content. We're both. We're the screen and the projector in a way. People that design all of this technology and all of this stuff, and these people that have been projecting and steering people's worldviews, they're well aware of this, right? Another part of the awakening. These things, everything in our world can be used for good or bad, right? That's the same with money. Okay, so let's just simply start. We're going to look at what do we need to know at first, because I'm not here to promote fear-based realities, and I'm not here to push anything onto people. In fact, I'm here to break that apart. We're here to, I guess, check the greed and the avarice and the negative emotional content that surrounds that. And that's, if you listen to previous readings, we talked about being hooked on our base emotional desires, needs. Money is that base hook. Okay. So first we're going to look just what do we need to know, what's going on, snapshot of the world right now, what's going on. And then we'll do maybe a little projection and see what's coming. See if we can sort of glean anything or look into, what energy is approaching us. Okay, let's go. Now, when I was mixing up the cards there, the Temperance card popped out. Temperance, the 14th card in the Major Arcana. And it really, like what the word means. It's having patience, tempering things, being like the image of the angel, mixing the waters in two chalices. And even better yet, look into that symbol more, look it up. It's a good message. It's a good sign. It really has a lot to do with, like tempering our thoughts, tempering our emotions around this kind of thing. Don't get led one way or the other. Right? It's very, for some of us that are maybe in the more wisdom area, been around, right? Kind of understand that. Don't get carried away. Yeah, that's a big part of it. Queen of Swords is what's in the middle there. She's kind of an interesting card because she's kind of looking into the future, right? And she's clearing away the fog of emotion that muddies the mind. Yeah, and she's kind of like very clear, like the balance between the intellectual and the intellectual and the intuitive part of us is aligned. She listens to both. They are aligned with each other. So she can make wise decisions, right? She's a wise ruler in that sense, right? So, and that's kind of what what we see with the, finances in the money world and all this stuff and especially like people that like we're all kind of hooked onto the internet in some ways. And, and we're watching stuff and we have our own money and interests involved, right? But it's really about kind of like sort of staying clear with whatever is sort of being thrown at us, I guess, right? And so many of us, like right underneath of it is the Hermit and above is the Cups, okay? And so it's like these cards both represent kind of past in some manner. And so it's very interesting, like I always talk about like when we're sort of unraveling, like especially when in the healing process and dealing with things that have happened in our past, we have to kind of sort out what has been good and what is bad, and we have to kind of leave the bad behind and kind of stick with what we've learned that is of the positive nature. And that's kind of what this Six of Cups kind of speaks to me about, right? It's drawing some of the positivity. So it's like, this is kind of what I was leading to. It's like we've been projected upon with so much fear and so many things that people have said that are going to come to be, and this is going to happen. And we've witnessed how it hasn't. And that's what we have to draw into this present and kind of keep with people on. And many of us are more in the sort of a spiritualized form rather than like looking at things materially. So, and that's also what the Hermit kind of speaks of. So it's like this integration of the spiritual and the material world. We see it with the money situations, right? Swords, like this is thought, right? And this is what we're talking about. There's a concentrated effort to project on us a certain idea or thoughts. But it also, like in what we're talking about, this internet, right? So the motion is to move everything over to the internet. This is what we understand. We've gotten this. Now, every time they kind of, like the deep state bad actors, let's call it, like I keep calling them, right? Every time they get caught out, they kind of try to backtrack, and they kind of, right? And they've set up all of these little Trojan horses, let's call it, all of these little traps. We saw it with TikTok. That was a kind of a surprise, right? People have been talking for the last quite a few years about the damage that TikTok does. Not only that it's part of a tool from a foreign bad actor that is actively attempting to subvert American culture. And as soon as that started to come out and they started talking about banning it, what did they come out with in the States? The Resist Act and the absolute total clampdown of the internet. And it was just like unbelievable, right? That's what the whole money trip is about. And like the people that have a lot of money, a lot of them are these bad actors, are moving things around, moving assets around, moving stuff around so that, and it's the age-old trick, like I keep saying, it's like while the one hand is doing this, the other hand is over here doing something else. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing and they're doing it with our life energy, our life force, not necessarily the money. See, and I kind of clued into this as a young kid. This is, I guess, part of my awakening. I worked early, and that's what a lot of us did when we were younger. I mean, thank God my parents and my mother was like that. It was a part of being raised, whether I liked it or not. Like, and that was, if you wanted money, you also had to work with it. I was also well looked after. I'm an only child, right? So I was also spoiled in some way, but I also was taught early, or my mother attempted to teach me the value of money. I was such a stubborn kid. So it took me a while. Okay. And it's a tough lesson. Anyway, that's part of it, right? So, I mean, we've had to kind of go through a whole bunch. This is our past, right? So it's like, this moving into this new waters, it's not dependent on a money system. I think that's a big part of it. Right? Money is just one level of this reality that we're living, and right, and that's part of it. It's just a vehicle for exchange, and that's also part of, like, they don't want everyday people really understanding this. What they want people to do is be divided and fighting and looting and doing all the crazy stuff that we're seeing, and not the opposite, where people, when they start to get together on like an uncompromised level, something else starts to happen, right? And that's what we're talking about. So it's not dependent on money. This is what we're going to actually see more and more as we move, because yeah, it's going to be the same old stuff as it's been. I mean, we've been in a contrived money system since 1929, even if not before. But since the Great Depression, everything has been so highly regulated and manipulated, and this thing of attempting to prevent us from ever going through another depression has created also this financial system that we're in, right? Part of the co-opting of society has been through money as well, right? That's why people are so focused on it. But yet, if people start to realize that, like, the nature, exactly like what we're talking about right now, the nature of energy and time, that's actually what I was trying to lead to with me as a kid. And I got sidetracked, was just the simple fact of going out and working in the world, realizing that my time is what I'm actually exchanging. My life force, my time. I'm wasting time being an economic slave. And essentially that's what we've been. We've been as economic slaves for so long. And so taking back our time is also a form of wealth. Right? And that's what these guys that understand this don't want you getting this. They want you working for them and making them money, freeing up their time and their energy. Okay? And that's how it works. Their whole system, like the financial system, isn't necessarily the wrong. It is more the intention behind it. Okay? And that's kind of what this is. I mean, the 2008 crash, I guess, was like the preliminary for what we're experiencing now. And what keeps coming up in these readings, man, it's both sides that are in this tug of war with these things, because that's really when the reset started to happen. And then there was another one. And they've just been these measures of like moving, like the elitists and these groups moving their money into different areas, different industries, and kind of hiding it, but in an attempt to like whittle down the middle class and kind of level the field, like turn the entire world into like a third world, but an undeveloped setting where only the small parts of the world are developed. Now, what's really wild about that, and this is Edgar Cayce talks about this, about how many of us have been reborn into this time from Atlantean times. And that sounds a lot like Atlantean times. And it's really a part of our human origins, where humanity has existed for long periods of time, where we're both humans, but one is like Stone Age, underdeveloped, and the other is highly advanced. They understand this. It's almost like, it's kind of like how they're attempting to bring us back into like feudalism, right? It's like a new form of feudalism that they're trying to devise. And it's wild, right? It is wild, because there is a certain segment of society, of people, that still buy into it. Okay. One of the things that's really been a huge part for these guys is that the trust factor has been broken. The illusion around their utopia, their fantasy world that they've been trying to present to people hasn't worked, right? It's broken. We've kind of helped sort of bring it forth, right? And a lot of it is via the internet, is this thing with social media. And that's why it's really important. Like, we have to sort some of this stuff out, because it's not going anywhere. We're going to continue to use it. So it's the intention behind it. People, they want, like, part of the trick of the dark side is to get us to sort of see that everything is just material and that there isn't anything more. Okay, that's pretty clear. That's pretty wild. This Atlantean thing keeps kind of popping up too. And that's because that's what they talk about, man, is like how the Atlanteans, the last destruction of Atlanteans may have been triggered, or there's part of it that may have been triggered by their own misuse of technology, of the spiritual sciences, let's call it, where the black magicians, the dark side magicians that came after a great disaster and planted bits of this knowledge, but ultimately it comes from another source, the divine source, right? The children of the one. And so, yeah, and this idea that they misused technology and created like an earth disaster, which we're living in those times. All of their systems connect too. This is the other thing. The money system might be the last one where it really connects with all of their technology. But this is what we keep seeing, that they have this other kind of system, right? Like, information is also now an asset. Information can be exchanged. That gets us into that quantum kind of notion. This is why people keep talking about quantum reality, quantum systems, quantum this, quantum that. Yeah, and they're hiding their quantum computers and all of their weird things. Some of it's not working out, but it's just, yeah, anyway. Okay, so let's just do a little projection. Maybe let's do, let's see, 6 months. Now, and that's the thing, when we do predictions or projections, it's not intended to necessarily see exactly an outcome. Sometimes we're told things so that it can shift, right? And these things, and that's the future, when we're looking into the future, it is infinite. And that's why I don't like doing forecasting or predictions, because it's not, there is a trap in that where all of a sudden we're not in the present moment, because that's where we're going to see everything, is in the present. And that's where it changes. Okay. So let's just see what we need to what guidance is going to help us as well to navigate, because it looks like there's just a little bit more of the same stuff. But yeah, let's just see 6 months, near future. What's going to happen? What do we need to sort of pay attention to? This is actually supposed to be aligned. So this is 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. Boy. Now you got to remember, part of my job is to bring awareness and to kind of offset the psychological operation that is being waged against us. And so this is kind of what this is talking about. They've got a plan. None of us are, and see, we didn't even talk about independence or being sovereign beings or this kind of thing, right? That's kind of part of it. We're talking about the mainstream part of the world, like when we're talking about this projection, right? And so right now, and so like the 7th card here, this is the right now, but this is kind of what's going to help us read through the 6 months. Okay. So like I was saying, it's like this, the six of Pentacles, restoring balance, bringing things sort of back, right? But also kind of fleecing people. This is another thing of fleecing people, man, of getting people through charity. This is a huge thing. This is it. And not only that, like what we're seeing like with Ukraine, this is like a huge charity case. This is like giving away all of our money. That has to stop. We have to check these guys. It's us that is doing it. Same thing like with all these people flooding into these countries, mine included. It's the taxpayer that's paying for that. Well, that's why they're bringing these people in, because they're going to pay for it as well. But it hurts everybody. It's no good for anybody. Right? But we have to address this. We have to say, wait, what's going on? The flip side of it is also like the positive aspect of like being charitable, right? It's like, look, if you want to help people, look in your neighborhood, look around you. Who needs help? You don't necessarily need to get money. Sometimes we also need a little bit of help. Like I've been seeing some really cool like little posts of people in their communities reaching out when they need it, and young and old, right? It's the same deal, man. Like, and it's cool. It's awesome. People actually reaching out and extending the heart. And it's so funny. I do see this kind of like this 6 of Pentacles as a heart chakra card in a sense, because in order to be truly charitable, your heart really does have to be open. It can't be done through an expectation of a reward. It has to be done selflessly to really, truly help people. That's what we're going through. It's like checking that part of it, hopefully restoring the balance, right? And so, yeah, it's sort of like any kind of start, like any kind of these guys that are in control of certain things, they really are in like full gear. They're going to try to check everything. But there's like a transcendence happening. People are kind of like, it's like this is the thing. People carry on regardless of what's happening. Good or bad, humans have this capability of continuing on. That's kind of what's going on, right? It's like people pushing out and actually transcending maybe this money system a little bit, or the money dependency in the mind, and sort of seeking other things in the world, which is also a big part. That's also what generates like a positive economy, is when people are active and doing, right? But that's kind of what we're going to see, I guess. And so that's like September. So we're still in the middle of August, so middle of September. Yeah, and it's so funny because one of the big things, the fear factor that they push is like towards the fall time in the north, in the northern hemisphere. And they really kind of, and everything, like especially here in Canada, everything kind of shuts down a little bit. But yet there's kind of a forward motion with energy with people. Second month, a lot of things are going to be called out actually. So that's like in October. We got the Magician, and the Magician reversed, and see that the Death card reversed too is sort of like, well, I'm not going to explain that one because we're talking about big picture kind of stuff, right? I think I explained that one pretty good. The Magician, though, reversed definitely represents like untruth, using words to manipulate, and like manipulated markets, but there's like things coming out about misuses of money, and we're talking about all over the world, man. Like the truth is coming out in little bits, right? And it's like where these guys been making money and what they've been doing, all of that stuff is going to come out more and more, right? More, because it's like this is like things are being revealed, it's being exposed, right? Yeah, and they're just like keeping the economy just kind of like just on the verge. And that's kind of what they're doing in like certain parts of the world. It's going to look really bleak, but yet it's more about the fear factor that they're pushing onto people than the actuality. And so they don't want people to come together and create their own little systems or their own subsistence community arrangements, however those work, right? But that's kind of what needs to do. I don't want, I'm not saying people like run totally away from the system, but that kind of ruins their plans as well, right? That's kind of what we're going through is like, we're going to get like bad news and things look bleak, and then really positive news. Don't be tricked by statistics. And this is what maybe like on a bigger scale is people are starting to kind of see past the overlay that's been put on people, the projection, let's say. Okay, so that's in December. And they always do that, like because February is the fiscal beginning, I guess. So that's like the emperor. And so what they're going to try to do, the economy hasn't crashed sufficiently enough for them to implement the digital currency thing, but they're going to try to do it maybe around January. They're going to try to push like a big component of it, except it's not working. Like it's kind of like how the net zero thing is kind of falling apart. It's the same thing. And that's, people are getting wiser to it, and they're getting wiser. Like they don't trust the internet. That's the other thing. Like people, like it's almost impossible to trust that. And I'm definitely one of these people that if you can't tangibly hold it, then you're not, be careful. A lot of shysters in the world, a lot of thieves, a lot of greed. It's all based on sucking money out of us and keeping us economic enslaved. And I think that's the same with the blockchain technology that people are trying to push. I kind of do agree, like, yes, in theory, this could free us, but I don't know about that either. I'm not so certain of where it's coming from. And, and I mean, yeah, it's just strange times. So it's like, if you're not motivated by just purely money, then this is awesome. These are awesome times. But for people that are just like completely money motivated, they're in trouble, man. They're going to lose a ton of cash, like in the next couple of months. Like people are going to lose a lot. Property is another thing that, I don't know, I guess this is maybe part of it too, is like a housing or property market collapse or something, or a further collapse that helps instigate this notion that we need more of we need to exchange more of our freedoms for security, this kind of thing. Right? But people don't buy into it. Enough of people don't really buy into it. That's part of it, right? But people losing their shirts and But we're talking big. I'm thinking bigger, not necessarily the everyday people. Kind of like what I said. If you're not motivated solely by money, this isn't such a bad thing. Yeah, February. Yeah, they're going to really push. Well, yeah, like part of their ploy, like part of the deep state's ploy right now, especially because some of these players have to, like, especially like in the States, the election is kind of drumming up. What they're going to do is hook people with nostalgia. And see, and like, man, study World War II, study the before World War II, how things came into being, right? That in playing on people's emotions, especially when they've been impoverished or shut down in some way, shape, or form, right? And that's what they're going to try to do, is play on people's emotions, like, oh, in the past we did such great things, and then blame everything on Trump. And that's kind of part of it. It's like they're going to go through this whole process because the whole indictment thing isn't going to work. So this is just going to create more popularity for him. And so they got to blame him for something, and they're going to try to use the economy, but that's ridiculous. But it's like going back decades, this kind of idea. And then on the 6th month, so that would be October 15th, November 15th, December 15th, January 15th, February 15th, March 15th. Okay, that sorts it out, right? Yeah, something big is going to happen. They've got something planned, and it's going to be around the spring. They're going to try to trigger something large that's going to like massively affect the economy. This collapse thing, maybe. I'm not sure though. I don't want to predict that. You got to realize that their plans are being sussed out, and that's what we're trying to do, is suss out what they're being caught, and we're trying to sort of navigate it, offset it, deflect it, and that's maybe what this is talking about. So that's when their big thing might come about, right? Or they might try something, and that could be in the manner of anything. But this could also be their own demise. This, because the tower represents like the destruction for creation. Like things need to be torn down in order for something new to be built up, right? And so, in many ways, like the thunderbolt of the infinite of God comes in and blasts the egoic crown, the false crown that the two that are fallen, the aristocracy and the royalty, and I guess this would be maybe like the priesthood, and that's maybe what will happen, is in March that comes about, and it helps restore and continue this process of order and balance more, not necessarily order, but like, yeah, balancing and natural growth, right? It's funny, 6 months, 6 of Pentacles, 16th card. There's another 6 here. So that's interesting. You can read that in both ways. I think this is more about them, the deep state bad actors, this Tower card, and then us. And that's what's happening. They want this whole system to clamp down on us, but it's slowly being turned in on them. That's why there's double dealing going on. That's why people are switching sides. And we just have to really be sort of collected and calm. Hey, hang on to your money right now. Help people in other ways. You don't have to give them money. That's simple. Hang on to your cash. I'm not telling people what to do. And by no means am I a financial expert or anything. I'm a tarot card reader. And we're here just taking a look at what's going on, and we're having fun, hopefully. So, and I mean, that's kind of clear, right? Like, because that's what we have to kind of contend with. The world, it's an illusion. This is part of an illusion that we have to break. And it is breaking, and it's breaking via the awakening. Okay, everybody, thanks for joining. Please hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit the notification bell so you get notified when new readings come up. Leave a comment. Please like the video. Hope you have a wonderful day and take care. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.